Black metal is a sick genre of music that takes its shape in different forms across the globe. Its early beginnings in England and Sweden are often talked about, as are the Norwegian bands of the second wave. But in conversation, I find several regions to be overlooked when discussing quality black metal. Among these regions, the United States of America. The country boasts a diverse catalog of quality bands, both new and old. What's ahead is a look at some of the foundational bands of the USBM scene, as well as some bands that started out much more recently. This is American Black Metal, Past and Present. The first set of bands to go over are the early bands to influence the acts of today. America's involvement with black metal begins with the second wave, and this list contains many third wave bands as well, as there have been plenty of time for the early third wave bands to have influenced today's various USBM factions, as well as the genre as a whole. While it's hard to pin down a specific attribute shared by this diverse collection of bands, many of these early American bands created cutting-edge sounds, some innovative, others iterative. These are the foundations of USBM. Vaughn. Vaughn was formed on the island of Oahu, Hawaii, before later relocating to San Francisco, California. During the band's earliest incarnation, they only managed to record one demo, Satanic Blood, recorded in 1991 and released in 1992, with the band breaking up shortly after its release. This demo epitomized the term primitive. The band reformed in 2010. Vaughn is widely considered the first American black metal band. Demoncy. Though Demoncy didn't put out a full album until 1999, they put out a steady stream of demos from 1991 to 1996, with the demos on the whole offering a lot of variety. They contain blasty war metal passages, unique vocals, doomy riffs, ambient filler. They tick a lot of boxes. In addition to being their debut full-length, within the Sylvain Realms of Frost, 1999 would also see the release of their second album, Joined in Darkness. Judas Iscariot. One-man band started in Illinois in 1992. In many ways, America's answer to bands like Burzum. Judas Iscariot's music began as a couple of primitive raw demos, but even as early as the first album, Akhenaten's work oozes personality, exhibiting a nihilistic, dreary atmosphere. The somber sounds of Judas Iscariot would be hugely influential, particularly to bands like Leviathan, Xasthur, and the myriad of DSBM acts to follow. Judas Iscariot was signed to Moribund Records during the band's early days, and 1996 saw the release of Judas Iscariot's debut and sophomore albums, The Cold Earth Slept Below and Thy Dying Light, respectively. Havo Hedge. Havo Hedge is another one-man project, this one the brainchild of Paul Ledney of Incantation and Profanatica fame. The music is ungraceful and simplistic, with less of a focus on melody or atmosphere when compared to the Scandinavian bands, but without being as unrelenting as something like Blasphemy. The debut album, Dethrone the Son of God, released in 1993. Grand Belial's Key. Formed in 1992 and based out of Virginia, Grand Belial's Key is a band that has always been mired in controversy, thanks to their unapologetically anti-Jewish lyrics and the fact that they share members with openly racist death metal band Argoslent. The band has made a clear effort to buck the trends set by the Norwegian black metal bands, and their music features plenty of riff-based black metal, drawing influence from the likes of Merciful Fate and Rotting Christ. Absu. Absu of Texas began as a death metal band, and though their first album had some black metal elements, it wasn't until their sophomore full-length, The Son of Tefareth, released in 1995, that the band was more firmly planted in the black metal camp with their brand of black thrash, being one of the first American examples of that particular style. Black Witchery. Floridian band Black Witchery began using the name in 1999, and they released their debut full-length, Desecration of the Holy Kingdom, in 2001. The band's style remained largely consistent throughout the years, playing blackened death metal in the vein of Blasphemy and Archgoat. Wind of the Black Mountains. One of these members' many bands, Wind of the Black Mountains was part of the Michigan black metal scene, which is a scene known for bands sharing members. The band featured members of Summon, Dark Psychosis, and many other acts. Winds of the Black Mountain comes across as very experimental, with their 1998 debut album, Sing Thou Unholy Servants, being the more occult and gothic of their two full-lengths, and 2002's Black Sun Shall Rise, being the more blasty, angry, high-octane album of the two. Weakling. Weakling of California released their sole full-length album in 2000. Dead as Dreams is regarded as one of the most influential American black metal releases to date, influencing acts from Wolves in the Throne Room to Panopticon, to even the post-black metal band Death Heaven. Weakling produces a unique, dark atmosphere. The guitars can be eerie or aggressive depending on the intended mood. Keyboards are used to great effect in creating this ethereal vibe, and the vocals are despairing shrieks in a DSBM style. Noctmistium. Originally from Illinois before relocating to California, Noctmistium started off as a simple and effective Darkthrone clone. But as their catalog grew, their style became increasingly experimental, introducing psychedelic elements into their music. Their first album released in 2002, but their first album to begin their notable experimentation, Instinct Decay, released in 2006. The band has been notorious for failing to meet obligations, such as canceling shows and not sending out merchandise rightfully purchased by fans, thanks to the drug abuse, theft, and general scumbaggery of Blake Judd, the man at the helm of the band. Despite Judd's conduct, he and Noctmistium have been very active forces in the American black metal scene of old, having supported and collaborated with members of Xasther, Leviathan, Krieg, and many others. Noctmistium dissolved in 2020, but their name still reverberates in the USBM conversation. Leviathan. Masterminded by Rest, the same artist behind the now discontinued Lurker of Chalice, Leviathan is a one-man black metal band currently based out of Oregon, though formerly of California. Leviathan, especially in those early days, was no slouch in putting out material, boasting multiple releases per year, every year from 2000, not breaking this pattern until 2007. The Leviathan discography is dense, featuring plenty of demos, as well as at least 2 albums uncontroversially lauded as timeless classics. The 10th Sublevel of Suicide, released in 2003, and Scar-Sided, released in 2015. Fog. Fog of Indiana released their only full-length, Through the Eyes of the Night, Winged They Come, in 2001. The music is mid to fast-paced, riff-driven black metal, with song structure being rather complex, for black metal anyway. This is something of an American take on the Swedish style championed by bands like Dark Funeral and Old Marduk. Xasther. One-man depressive black metal act from California. Xasther draws influence from Burzum, Necromantia, Mutilation, as well as gothic, darkwave stuff like Lycia. Xasther exudes negativity, featuring lyrics about suicide, despair, depression, and fear. Xasther's first album, Nocturnal Poisoning, came out in 2002. Wolves in the Throne Room. Hailing from Washington, Wolves in the Throne Room are the originators of what's been dubbed Cascadian black metal, or atmospheric black metal from the Pacific Northwest. The band's music has been described as misty and mythical, and the downright tranquil and trance-like passages have been influential in both black metal and post-black metal. Their debut album, Diadem of 12 Stars, was released in 2006. Inquisition. I've saved Inquisition for the last band in the grouping of foundational bands, because more than any other band, they would fit in either category. They serve as a great example of both a band that started out early, as well as one that continues to put out critically acclaimed albums today. Inquisition formed in Colombia, but relocated to Washington prior to the release of their first album. One of the most notable characteristics of Inquisition's music is the vocal performance. Vocalist and frontman Dagon's style has been described as bullfrog-like, and sounds like something of a fusion between Attila Sahar and Mongolian throat singing. In recent years, Inquisition has been the center of much controversy. Inquisition has played shows while displaying swastikas. Dagon, the main force behind the band, has a side project called 88mm or 88mm or 88 or whatever, and he was busted for child pornography, being charged with assault and malicious mischief. Whether for the Nazi stuff or the child porn stuff, Inquisition was kicked off the label Season of Mist in 2018, and the label has declined to comment further. They're now signed by Agonia Records, who've made it a point to declare child porn a victimless crime. Don't know why they felt like saying that. Inquisition seemed to have taken this controversy in stride, though, as they released one of their most popular albums, Black Mass for a Mass Grave, just last year, as of the time of this recording. Next up, we have the American bands with a more recent start date. These are bands whose albums are newer than a lot of the previous mentions. In this modern fourth wave in which we find ourselves, there is a constantly expanding catalog of black metal subgenres. This cultivation of subgenres naturally led to some bands playing with the gray areas between various black metal subgenres, some committing fully to a specific subgenre, or bringing new elements into the music entirely. This is modern USBM. Von Goat. Shortly after the reformation of seminal USBM band Von in 2010, Sean Calizzo split from the group to form Von Goat. The primitive nature of old Von remains, but production and musical maturity have improved tremendously since that old demo. Von Goat, while still clearly a black metal act, contains more death metal and punk influence a la Autopsy or Incantation than the band's prior incarnation. Their last album released in 2012, but they're still active today, and released an EP in 2018 entitled Manifesto Odyssey Darkside. Arisminda. Arisminda of California formed in 2007, and the band produces black metal with a dark psychedelic vibe. While each album carries the band's unique sound, each album deviates from its predecessors, lending themselves to a discography that feels familiar but fresh. They're currently signed to Crepúsculo Negro, and their latest album, Despair's Depths Descended, dropped in 2016. Ash Borer. Atmospheric black metal band Ash Borer formed in California in 2008, before members relocated to both New Mexico and Oregon. Clearly taking notes from bands like Wolves in the Throne Room, Ash Borer offers sounds that are at times more bright or mellow than the traditional black metal fare, and at times more dark and doomy. If you've been curious about black metal that at times has a more subdued feel, but grow frustrated with the oversaturation of Alcest clones, Ash Borer may be worth consideration. Ancestral Shadows. While neither DSBM nor pagan black metal, Ancestral Shadows of New Hampshire came about thanks to frontman Apparitional Wolf Shadow being inspired by the depressive and pagan black metal scenes. Ancestral Shadows is a band that keeps stylistic consistency between all of its albums. Whatever album you reach for, you'll be met with a familiar intro and some sick upbeat black metal riffing, transitioning in and out of more somber, melancholic sections. Ancestral Shadows is like a black metal sampler platter. They incorporate elements of various black metal subgenres, symphonic, depressive, melodic, without deviating far from a traditional black metal sound. A band like Ancestral Shadows can serve as a great segue from traditional black metal to other subgenres due to the mixed bag approach. Our place of worship is silence. Our Place of Worship is Silence is a California-based black death metal band that plays in a style that is aggressive, brutal, and dissonant. Our Place of Worship is Silence's material stands in stark contrast to the plethora of clean, pretty black metal that has been the trend in recent years. The band released their debut, The Embodiment of Hate, in 2016, and their latest album, With Inexorable Suffering, in 2018. Volon. Volon is a one-man black metal project from Southern California. The band and its mastermind Eduardo Ramirez are at the center of the Black Twilight Circle, a group of black metal musicians from Southern California releasing records off Crepúsculo Negro. Volon plays black metal with unconventional riffs and pre-Hispanic lyrical themes. Though Volon hasn't released a full-length album since 2014, they have continued to put out smaller releases, most recently 2019's EP El Tigre del Sol. Blue Hummingbird on the left. Another Black Twilight band, and another one of Eduardo Ramirez's projects, though this one features multiple band members. Blue Hummingbird on the left formed in 2010, and their music is a crushing Black Death style with unique Machica folk trimmings in its percussion and flutes. Torture Chain. Torture Chain is another band that offers a lot of different elements thrown together. You have occasional doom death riffs that can slow the pace down and speedier flurried passages as well. There are dark melodies on occasion, and you'll even find an electronic, industrial, ambient bit here and there. Their latest album, The Ascent of Demos, released in 2019 off Hospital Productions. Obsequy. Minnesota band Autumnal Winds changed their name in 2005 to Obsequy. They play a very unique style of black metal that incorporates medieval European instrumentation. Their latest album, The Psalms of Sorrowed Kings, released in 2019, and their current label is $20 Spin. Uada. Oregon melodic black metal band Uada formed in 2014. Their music is pretty infamous as a clone of Mgwa, but that's an incomplete picture. While the Mgwa influence is clear as day, Uada also sounds like fellow USBM act Ceremonial Castings. These melodic sensibilities make sense considering the shared member between Uada and Ceremonial Castings, vocalist and guitarist Jake Saperchi. Uada's most recent album, Jin, released in 2020. Sanira. Fans of Dissection should be excited, as Texas one-man band Sanira follows the template set by albums like The Somber Lane and Storm of the Light's Bane to a T. Catchy guitar melodies abound, and are the clear focus of this album. Their 2020 album, The Everlorn, is Sanira's only full-length release as of today. Holder. One-woman traditional black metal band based out of Oregon and formed in 2018, Holder is the brainchild of one Mars Riesterer, a Belgian-born immigrant to the US. Lyrical content includes medieval themes and Belgian folklore. The vocals are hellish and there's a tasteful use of keyboards for both melodies and atmosphere. The 2021 album Godslastering, Hymns of a Forlorn Peasantry, is Holder's only full-length album as of yet. Panopticon. Panopticon formed in 2007 in Kentucky, later relocating to Minnesota. Though they produced consistent albums since their inception, their big hit making them champions of the underground was 2012's Kentucky. Panopticon is an atmospheric folk black metal band. The folk style drawn from, in the case of Panopticon, American bluegrass. Pretty unique choice, and they are considered a pioneer for this particular fusion. Panopticon's newest album, And Again Into the Light, came out in May of 2021 on Bind Rune Recordings. Pan American Native Front. extremely riffy black metal from Illinois, Pan American Native Front formed in 2015 by the sole member Alan Avidia, otherwise known as Curator of War. Pan American Native Front's music centers around history, particularly that of Native American warfare. Mare Cognitum. Originally started in California, but now located in Oregon, Mare Cognitum is a one-man atmospheric black metal band that follows in the footsteps of Dark Space, with music about space, darkness, and cosmic mysticism. The act has grown gradually more aggressive in style over time, but still manages to bring in a truly cosmic atmosphere, never straying too far from those grand atmospheric soundscapes. The band was formed in 2011 and released their debut album, The Sea Which Has Become Known, that same year. Their latest album, Solar Paroxysm, came out in 2021 on Extra Conscious Records. Hopefully this sheds some light on American black metal and debunks the notion that USBM is subpar. Keep in mind, there are many more bands from the states that continue to put out great, interesting material. Achilles, Kralis, Krieg, the list really could go on all day. Thank you for watching.